In this video, I'd like to show you an example of how to upgrade a single module of the reference architecture to the service catalog. A bit of background first. Gruntwork created the reference architecture 1.0 some years ago. In 1.0, you had an infrastructure live repo and an infrastructure modules repo. The infra live repo contained TerraGrunt code that pointed to the Terraform modules in infra modules. But we realized that many infra modules repos looked the same, so we created a service catalog, a canonical version of Terraform module code that everyone can leverage. One of the main features of Reference Architecture 2.0 is that it consists of a single repo, infrastructure live, that points to the service catalog, so you no longer have to maintain your own inframodules repo. For those of you wanting to upgrade your reference architecture to use the service catalog, we've published a guide. This video walks you through upgrading a single module as an example. Here's a VPC module that's still currently pointing to the infrastructure modules repo, meaning that it's using the old reference architecture v1, what we're calling v1. v2 is the version of the reference architecture that where every module points to or every live configuration, I should say, points to the service catalog module. We have published guides about this, and they walk you through every step of how to do it, and I want to show you how I would do it. So at the highest level, to look at what we're really doing here is we're going to choose a service. In this case, it's the VPC. We're going to look at the dedicated guide for that service, which is over here, VPC app, and I'll open that in a second. We're going to run a state pull and back up the state file. And then we're going to walk through everything in that dedicated guide over here and modify the TerraGrunt live configuration. Then we'll validate it. That's optional, but good to do. We'll run any state migration script that we need to run. And what this will do is make our changes backward compatible. So if there have been any changes to resource locations or paths, this will move the state from the current position to where it should end up being, so that when you run plan and then apply, you won't get destruction in your plan. That being said, some of the plans will show that you need to destroy some resources, and you will have to. Not every single module can be backward compatible, have a backward compatible path forward. And we try to document that in the guide so that you're not left wondering if your plan is actually safe to go with. So let's go forward. Here's the VPC app. I'm going to scroll down to, so here's what the guide looks like. Follow this guide to update the VPC module to the service catalog. It takes about half an hour. And that's a generous estimate. It should take you less than this time. So we have some new required inputs. We have some backward compatibility inputs, the following inputs here. And then the dependency that it's talking about. It says here that I'll need to add some dependency blocks, turning this dependencies block into a single dependency block using the new format. And then we'll end up using outputs from that dependency down here, which is one of the inputs that are required for backward compatibility. Then there actually is a state migration script for this. So I'm going to go run over there and look at that, and I will run that script. And then it says here, under breaking changes to be aware of, it says it's fully backward compatible, which actually means that I shouldn't have any destroys in the plan. And it says that I should notice 2 resources being created, and they can be ignored because they should be created. Okay, full disclosure here, we've already migrated everything in this particular account. So I can't show you the process, the way it goes as if I really am going through it live, but I can walk you through the code changes so that it looks somewhat close to what you will be doing. So the first thing I will do, here we go, full-fledged steps. Check the service's downstream dependencies using graph dependencies. So here's a command I can run. Here's my working directory. I'm in the reference architecture live repo, infrastructure live repo. This is our ASG one that we're working through. I'm in the dev account. And at this account level, not in the VPC level, okay, because you're not really going to see everything from that level, but you want to start from the account level to see really what you're migrating and what that looks like from that level. So here's exactly where I ran this command, as you can see right here. I ran it, and then I'll just run it again so you can see me do it. Looks like it's there. Let's open it. And here's the file. Hopefully it isn't too small, but basically what I'm going to be migrating is this US East 2 dev VPC module, and it's over here. So what I want to point out to you is that this is actually very high in the, or very close to the root of the tree. So it's vital that you have already migrated everything downstream from here. Downstream is reverse the arrows. So that means the CloudWatch dashboard would be the first thing to migrate, or any of these global ones are also fair game. You want to make sure that you choose a dependency that is at the leaf node, or one that has all of its downstream dependencies migrated. Now, this step is to ensure the module is updated to the same version used in the reference architecture version published in November 2020. And I know for certain that this version that I'm starting from is actually based on 2021 in February. Now, if you know that you're not on the November version or later or newer, then you should go through the guides for each of the services, each of the modules, and make sure that you followed the backward compatibility migration steps, if there are any, and get yourself up to this state. Now, make a backup of the state file using this command, state pull. Unfortunately, I can't show you exactly what this looks like, but it's very simple to do. Going back to this window, you would do something like this, and show you my dev account. I would state pull, and you don't need to do the TerraGrunt source flag here, because most likely you are pointing to the right repo in your source. The reason that I'm doing this is if, for example, if you look here, this ref, the 001, isn't a real ref. So it is probably, it was one that used to exist, so it's not going to work right now. But we have another source that we can reference, and that's what I'm using in the TerraGrunt source here. Now, you won't need to do this. You can just do a open caret and then backup.tf state and back up your file. So that's what you would do. Now, what this does is if you notice that you made a mistake in your state migration or something still doesn't look right, you can always back up. You can always use the backup by doing, I have messed up before and I had to do TerraGrunt state push backup.tf state. So here's my tree, so you can see where I am. I'm in the dev account in the US East 2 region and in the dev environment, and I'm going to be in the VPC module. So first thing you want to do is change the include path, and then you also want to change the source. Okay, so since I know how to do this pretty well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to be pointing to grunt work. You will want to do this too. I'm going to change this to be Terraform AWS service catalog. And the path is slightly different. It's going to be modules. So you want to make sure that after the double slash, you have modules, networking VPC app, and so forth. And if you're not sure, we've from the guide, from the dedicated guide, we'll link you to exactly where you need to go. If you're familiar with the service catalog folder structure, it's probably pretty simple for you to figure out exactly what that path should be. And I want to point to 35.5 because that's the version that we have tested all the scripts against. And then here, this is the include path that I need to change as well. I'm going to use TerraGrunt service catalog HCL rather than the default, which is TerraGrunt HCL. Now this is because if you see in my folder tree here, you might have already a TerraGrunt.hcl. There doesn't happen to be one here, but since you might already have one, we called ours Terragrunt service catalog HCL. And then just to show you what it looks like, you got a bunch of stuff that pulls from region, account, and common YAML files. And then we have stuff that you need. And then we have other stuff that you need. Oops. Yep. Remote state and so forth. And so everything gets an account and a region from here, from this level. So you don't have to have them in individual configuration files. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Going back to the VPC Terragrunt HCL, other things that need to get changed. Moving on down the steps here. Boop, 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 boop. So now find the dedicated migration guide. Using that guide, update the inputs, validate them, use dependencies if you need them. So let's just do that one step now. Here's the VPC app. I need VPC name set to the name. And then as we walked through before, I need to set all of these. I'm going to do that, and then I'll come right back. Great, I'm back. So I have created a copy of the new version of the file, and the old version has been preserved so that you can see the differences here. We added a dependency block, and this config path points to the management VPC. And we know this because if we go up to and then down to management, this is the management VPC. That's what that's referring to. Okay, and other changes, we have to provide a VPC name that was mentioned in the guide. And then we have to provide create peering connection equals true. That's because the new service catalog version of this module doesn't by default create a peering connection. But the old version that you are currently running with reference architecture v1 does do that by default. So to avoid a backward incompatibility, you need to set this to true. Now, if you don't set this to true or you mistype this or something, you will see that a bunch of your connection resources will get destroyed. You'll see some like over 10 of them will show up as being destroyed. And then you want to set origin VPC name, and so forth. All of these are outputs from the management VPC. In most cases, your mileage will be similar in that you will want to use this as well, this output. But you can check with your management VPC module to make sure this is correct. And also, when you run your plan, after running the migration script, when you run the plan, you should be able to see that things are good. So here's a CIDR block. CIDR block just got moved down. Nothing changed there. Gateways is the same. KMS key user IMRs is the same. Anything that you don't have to change, don't change. And same with allowing private persistence internet access. That sounds good. Okay, so we are done. Now it says to run Terragrunt state list to make sure that everything's cool. This is a sanity check. I'm pretty sure that I'm okay. My state file is hooked up correctly. Then I can actually start doing the migration operations. Now what that means is run the script, run plan, make sure that you're on the right version, and then run apply when everything looks good. Okay, so I'm going to run the script. So here's the migration script here for migrating the VPC app. So I'm going to write just migrate.sh, open this up, paste this in. Maybe I should have pasted it. Let's do set paste to get this right. Okay, great. And then I want to make sure that I'm in that directory so I can change. Just like it'll be easier if you can navigate directly there and then make sure that that file is executable. That's the word. Okay, and then you want to run it. So migrate, I'm going to run it against this account. So that's not the account, it's the dev account. So this is how you do it. Run, you want to authenticate and then run the script. You have to authenticate because the script does hit the APIs. Now, this is not going to look like what yours will look like because we've already done the migration. As I said before, the VPC app module has already been migrated, but this is an example of what it looks like. And usually this is where the most time is spent. When you have to run the script, it has to hit the API. So there's some downtime here. Oh, and it looks like it needs to initialize as well. So right now it's creating that TerraGrunt cache. There it is, folder, pulling those sources. And once it's done, then you will see the state migration script running. Okay, as you can see, you probably will hit this if you're running a version, if you're on a patch of the Terraform that hasn't had this fix pushed to it. So as you can see right now, we are running the migration. Nothing to change, skipping state migration. So it is idempotent at least. You won't have to worry about any issues running the script repeatedly because it can't re-migrate anything that has already been migrated. Then we're done. Okay, so next step is run the plan. Run the plan and then just sanity check the plan, how that looks. And this is the right account, yes. Well, so here's the plan. No surprises. I don't actually have anything to update since everything's been migrated. But when you do it for the first time, you will see for this particular module, two things should be created. And then you would run apply. And I don't need to run apply, but just to show you, you would run apply. Once you run apply, you are all done. There's nothing to update, so it's kind of a pointless step here. Yeah. So in your case, you will get, you'll get a plan and you'll have to approve the plan with yes, or escape out of the plan if you're not happy with it. And that's how you migrate a module. I hope that helps.